everybody, and welcome to the English TV lessons. I hope this lesson finds you well. Today, we are going to continue with Unit 3, Creative Inventive Minds. We are going to deal together with Lesson 3, The Father of PlayStation. This lesson was prepared by me, Safinez Bazizi, under the supervision of the ELT inspector, Mr. Shid Kharoubi. In this lesson, we are going to acquire information related to the topic of PlayStations, watch a video and infer the speaker's tone and attitude, distinguish positive attitudes about video games from negative ones, and write an argumentative letter. Let us start with the following question. How do you spend your free time? All right. I spend my free time reading books, exercising, surfing the net, playing video games, or watching films. If you have to choose one of these activities for this weekend, what would you opt for? Right, I'm quite sure that many of you are now opting for playing video games. Indeed, during this pandemic lockdown, many people have turned to play video games in order to entertain themselves through the crisis. Do you know that video gaming has become a powerful industry in today's global market? It has. In fact, it has been found that from March 16th to March 22nd, a total of 4.3 million games were sold worldwide. Some of the best-selling video games include games such as Call of Duty, Outriders, and Dragon Ball. Analysts predict that by 2022, the gaming industry will generate $196 billion in revenue. Now, if you want to play video games, what are the electronic devices that you use? Well, I can play video games using a Nintendo Wii, a Microsoft Xbox, or a PlayStation. Now the question is, what's a PlayStation? Here are some notes to develop in order to get a coherent definition of a PlayStation. Notice that the question is requiring you to develop notes, which means that you are going to keep the original order of the expressions, but you are going to add some details in order to get a coherent sentence. These details can be in the form of articles, prepositions, linkers, forms, or some auxiliaries. Take some time to think about this, and we are going to correct together. Let's check together. So a PlayStation is a video game console designed by Sony to compete with other gaming platforms like Nintendo Wii and Microsoft Xbox 360. Let us focus on the underlined expressions that we added now. As you can see, we started this definition with the indefinite article a. This is mainly because we are not talking about one particular PlayStation. So we are using the indefinite article a because we are referring here to a singular noun, indefinite noun, and it starts with a consonant. The same thing appears with video game. Now, as long as we are introducing a definition, we are going to use be. That's why we said a PlayStation is a video game. We have opted for a past participle form for verb design, so we used designed because we have got a passive form in this structure. And this is very clear through the use of the expression by. to compete. It's the infinitive with to. Why is this video game console designed by Sony? It is designed to compete. So here we are introducing the purpose. This is another way to say in order to compete. With what? With other gaming platforms. We are going to introduce some examples, so we use the word like. This could be replaced with other expressions like such as or as, Nintendo's Wii and Microsoft's Xbox 360. So here, as you can see, we have used the linker and in order to coordinate between the two examples. So now we know what a PlayStation is. The question is, who invented it? Right, it's the Japanese engineer Ken Kataragi. So now we know that the inventor of the PlayStation is from Japan and he is an engineer. To know more information about Ken Kataragi, let us focus on the next task. So you are required to put the bracketed words in the right tense and or form in order to get a coherent paragraph about Ken Kataragi. Now, I just want to draw your attention to the fact that you always need to study the structure of the sentence and bear into your consideration the meaning so that you can narrow down your choices about the answers. Take some time to think about this. Okay, let's see together. PlayStation was the brainchild of Ken Kataragi, a Sony executive who, and we have got the word manage. Now, as you can see, we are starting here a relative clause. It starts with the relative pronoun who. So we need here a conjugated verb. So we are going to opt for the simple past of manage, which is managed. This is mainly because we are talking about a past finished action. So a Sony executive who managed one of the company's hardware engineering divisions and later dubbed the father of the PlayStation. We are referring to Ken Kataragi as being dubbed. So he was later dubbed. So as you can see here, we are using the passive form because Ken Kataragi is not actually the doer of the action. Kataragi said that he had dedicated his life and passion to perfecting the electronic gaming experience. Notice that in this sentence, we have got the reporting verb said, which is conjugated in the simple past, and this is why we are opting here for the past perfect tense. If you want, the original sentence would be he has dedicated his life and passion to perfecting the electronic gaming experience. But because this sentence appears within a reported speech, we are going to shift from a present tense to a past tense. Fine. Now, how has the PlayStation evolved? To answer this question, you have got some notes in the following text. I would like you to circle the right alternative in order to get a meaningful paragraph about the evolution of the PlayStation. Take some time to think about this. So, Sony's PlayStation brand was introduced on December the 3rd, 1994, and since then, 4 major PlayStation generations have been released. So as you can see in this sentence, we have got the expression since then. We all know that while using since then, we are going to opt for a present aspect, which means that we are going to drop the option are released. The remaining options are have released and have been released. Well, both of them are conjugated in the present perfect. But the difference is that have released is active form, whereas have been released is passive form. So we need to examine again the sentence in order to see whether the subject here is doing the action or not. Obviously here, PlayStation or the PlayStation generations are not going to perform the action of releasing. So they have been released by a company. This is why we are opting for a present perfect tense and a passive form, all of which have received slim versions and refreshed designs. We are going to describe the noun designs, just like we have slim versions. We need to put the past participle form refreshed designs. We cannot use refresh nor refreshes because both of them are verbs. So the first one is bare infinitive or could be considered as an infinitive or a verb conjugated in the simple present. The same thing with refreshes, so it does not fit in this example. So we are going to opt for the past participle form. From the original PlayStation's 3D polygon graphics to PlayStation 4's 4K resolution, the brand has made an amazing journey with some of the best titles ever released. So we have got here a superlative structure, and this is very clear through the use of the word the. So we use the plus superlative. Well, of course, here let me just remind you that good is an irregular adjective. That's why it changes into best. So with some of the best titles ever released, changing the way gaming used to be. In these games, designers envision characters who are more like us to get the players more interacted. We are opting for envision here because the meaning does not fit if we opt for bring, and the grammar would be incorrect if we opt for the word creates. What do we mean with envision? We can say simply envision or visualize or imagine a future situation. Let's go back to the paragraph. Players experience fabulous adventures in a virtual world. We cannot use a real world here because we are talking about the world of PlayStations and the world of adventure, so this is not something real. We cannot use electronic because this adjective has been preceded with the indefinite article a, and we know that whenever we use the indefinite article a, we are going to use a word starting with a consonant. So the right answer would be a virtual world. What do we mean with virtual now? Virtual is an adjective, and it simply means not physically existing as such, but made by software to appear to do so. Right. So now we have seen together what a PlayStation is. We know that it was invented by Ken Kataragi, a Japanese engineer, and we know that there exist 5 generations for the PlayStation. Now the question is, do you think that only teenagers and children play video games? In fact, video games attract different age groups. They are loved by children, teenagers, and adults. Let's have a look at the following picture. This picture depicts a grandfather playing video games with his grandson. They seem to have fun. There are certainly many good reasons why video gaming is admired as such, one of which is the love to explore. The desire to discover more of the world is illustrated in the following video. So now we are going to watch together a video which is advertising PS5, that is PlayStation 5, and I would like you to listen carefully and sort out 2 adjectives that better describe the speaker's tone and attitude. Now, notice that you are going to identify the speaker's tone and attitude, which means that you are invited to focus on the intonation and the rhythm of the speaker. Now, you have got 4 options, and you are going to choose only 2 adjectives. The speaker sounds regretful, enthusiastic, passionate, or annoyed. Let's watch this video together.
Exploration. It's in our DNA. There's something inside each and every one of us that compels us to know the unknown, to push past every frontier. We want to see what's never been seen, hear what's never been heard, feel what's never been felt. There are no limits to where we'll go, to what we'll discover, to what we'll achieve. We are all explorers, and there are new worlds to explore.
PlayStation.
Great. So we have been watching together a video advertising PlayStation 5, and the question was basically about identifying the speaker's tone and attitude towards video games. I'm quite sure that you have guessed right. So the speaker sounds enthusiastic and passionate. Good. He was enthusiastic and passionate. Now we are going to reinvest together some vocabulary items which have been mentioned in this listening. I would like you to use these items in the following gapped paragraph in order to have a meaningful paragraph. The words are the following: limits, felt, exploration, push past, and explorers. Please take into your consideration that you always need to identify the form of the missing word so that you can narrow down your choices. Think about this for a while. All right, so video games are so appealing as they enhance what? They enhance something, which means that we are actually looking for a noun. So they enhance exploration. They enable us to do something every frontier and discover the unknown. So we are obviously here looking for a verb, and notice that this verb is preceded by the preposition to, which means that it has to be bare infinitive. So the missing word is push past. What is push past now? Actually, this is an idiomatic expression, and it means move in front of someone or something forcibly or by pushing them or it out of one's way. Let's go back to the paragraph. Exploring has no limits. It gives the opportunity to discover new words. We can feel what has never been, and here we have got auxiliary be, which is conjugated in the present perfect. So we are going to use auxiliary be plus past participle. Therefore, the answer would be felt. Video games allow whom to live adventures. We're looking here for a noun which is functioning as an object. So video games allow explorers to live adventures. In the previous video, we saw together the perspective towards video games from a positive side, whereby the emphasis was on showing how video games are beneficial in that they enable people to explore and discover new words. Now the question is, do people perceive video games the same way? In fact, there are different attitudes towards video games. While some believe that they have many benefits, some others believe that video games have many negative effects. We are going to see together a number of attitudes towards video games. The task would be to put those statements or those attitudes under attitudes for video games or against video games? Let us examine together those statements. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that you need to identify the type of the words used in order to express one's attitude. This might help you a lot in identifying whether the attitude is a positive one or a negative one. Okay, so let's start together with the first statement. I am of the opinion that video games can be extremely addictive. This can ruin young gamers' social lives and affect their school results. Notice that in this statement we have got words like addictive and ruin. These words actually carry a negative meaning. So certainly such a sentence is actually, or such a statement is actually carrying an attitude against video games. The second statement, I see that video gaming teaches patience, reduces impulsiveness, and promotes relaxation. So expressions like teaching patience, reducing impulsiveness, and promoting relaxation carry with them a positive attitude, which means that this sentence is actually an attitude for video games. Number 3, I believe that video gaming is an isolating activity which can bring about social anxieties and depression. Words like isolating, anxieties, and depression have negative meaning, which means that this statement is actually presenting an attitude against video games. Statement 4, I am absolutely convinced that video gaming increases mental flexibility and improves problem-solving abilities. Mental flexibility and problem-solving abilities are positive aspects, which means that statement 4 is introducing an attitude for video games. Number 5, personally, I think that video games can help people keep socially connected. No wonder that words like help, being socially connected, are positive aspects. Therefore, this statement is certainly introducing an attitude for video games. Statement 6, to my mind, many video games are built on the premise of engaging in criminal behavior such as kicking, fighting, and fast driving. Children who are exposed to such games can act similar scenarios in real life. So as you can see, expressions like criminal behavior, kicking, fighting, fast driving, these are all carrying a negative meaning, which means that statement 6 is actually presenting an attitude against video games. Statement 7, it might well be that for older people, video games reduce cognitive decline, which is often associated with aging. Helping people or older people in order to boost their memories is always something positive, which means that statement 7 is actually presenting an attitude for video games. And the last one, number 8, it seems to me that video gaming for long hours may lead to health problems such as skeletal disorders and obesity. Health problems, skeletal disorders, and obesity are all negative aspects, which means that statement 8 is actually presenting an attitude against video games. All right, so you have noticed that the study of certain vocabulary items has helped us a lot to identify whether the attitude is for or against video games. Let us check some vocabulary items mentioned in this task. So match words from column A with their corresponding meaning in column B. Now I just want to draw your attention that there's an extra item in B. The words appear in this table. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that you need to always study the form of the words and keep in mind that verbs should be matched with words in the same form. That is, the meaning of a verb should also be given in a verb. The meaning of a noun should also be provided in another noun. Take some time to think about this and we are going to correct. Okay, let's correct. So number 1 goes with D. So we can say ruin or we can say destroy. Number 2 goes with E. Impulsiveness means acting without deliberation. Number 3 goes with A. We can say isolating meaning detaching. Number 4 plus F. We can say flexibility meaning ability to adjust to new situations. And number 5 plus C. That is obesity meaning the state of being grossly fat. So the extra item is actually interact. Right. Now, I have selected a statement from the previous task. I actually would like you to identify what it expresses. So you're going to circle the right option. The statement is the following. It seems to me that video gaming for long hours may lead to health problems such as skeletal disorders and obesity. Does this statement express intention, approval, or opinion? Think about this for a while. Good. So it expresses opinion. Let us study the structure together. We use it seems to someone plus that plus clause if you want to give your opinion. There are other expressions that could be used to give opinion. We can, for instance, say, I am of the opinion that. I see that. I believe that. I am absolutely convinced that. Or, to my mind, and you introduce your attitude. Right. So now we are going to move together to the following task, whereby we are going to compare between two structures. The statement has been mentioned in the task before. Ken Kataragi has devoted his life and passion to perfecting the electronic gaming experience. And statement B, Ken Kataragi has devoted his life and passion to the electronic gaming experience. Now we have got here some underlined expressions, and I would like you to compare the two structures. We want to spot the differences between statements A and B. Okay, so in statement A, we have used has devoted, so verb devote, which could be replaced by verb dedicate. So we said devote something to plus verb ing. He has devoted his life and passion to perfecting. All right. What about B now? Ken Kataragi has devoted his life and passion to the electronic gaming experience. So we used devote. Again, it could be replaced by dedicate. So we said devote something to plus the noun phrase the electronic gaming experience. Or it can simply be a noun. So we can simply use devote something to doing something or devote something to another thing. Let us practice these structures through the following task. I would like you actually to put the bracketed verbs in the right form. Sentence A, she has devoted her life to raise her children. And sentence B, he decided to devote his life to write plays. Take some time to think about this. Okay? So she has devoted her life to raising her children. Or we can simply say she has devoted her life to her children. And B, he decided to devote his life to writing plays, or we can simply say he decided to devote his life to plays. Good. Now let us focus a little bit on pronunciation, and we are going to focus on the way to pronounce the final ed at the end of a regular verb. The final ed at the end of a regular verb, whether the verb is conjugated in the simple past or used as a past participle form, has 3 different phonetic representations. Each of these representations depends on the final sound of the base form of the verb. Notice here that we are more interested on the sound, and this is very different from the letter, simply because sometimes the letter can have different sounds. So the final ed at the end of regular verbs can be pronounced as ed. This actually applies to verbs ending with d or t sounds, like connect, connected. The second phonetic representation would be t sound. This applies to verbs ending with p, k, s, ch, or sh sounds. Example, convince, convinced. And the final representation would be the d sound. This applies to all the other verbs which are voiced, like expose, exposed. And this takes us back to the remark previously. Expose contains the letter S, but notice that when we pronounce it, it is pronounced using the sound z, expose. Let us now compare the 3 words. So we say connected, convinced, and exposed. Now I would like you to put the following verbs under the appropriate heading. So you are going to say whether the final ed is actually pronounced with an ed sound, t sound, or d sound. Take some time to think about this. So number 1 is refreshed. It contains the sound sh, which means that we are going to apply rule number 2. So refreshed. Number 2, designed. Number 3, interacted. Released, managed, and dedicated. So as you can see here, we have got 3 different phonetic representations for the same sound. So far, we have seen how video games can raise various issues, such as relationships, education, health, and behavior. Indeed, it depends on where one stands to talk about those issues positively by emphasizing the benefits of video games, or negatively by stressing the drawbacks of video games. The following spidergram might clarify this. So we have got at the core the topic, which is video games, and we have got the 4 issues, which are relationships, education, health, and behavior. It all depends on where one stands. If you are for video games, you might talk about the issue of relationships from a positive perspective, raising ideas like making friends, being socially connected, and so on and so forth. If you are, however, against, you would probably focus on problems like isolation, or problems like hampering communication between family members. Now, when we talk about education in relation to video games, if we are for video games, we might emphasize ideas like mental flexibility. If we are, however, against, we might talk about how video games can affect the school results negatively and therefore talk about school failure. If we want to talk about video games positively in relation to the issue of health, we might talk about how video games help us to boost one's mood, to get rid of the stress or depression. If we are against video games, we might talk about some health problems like skeletal disorders or obesity. If we are for video games and we want to show how video games can positively affect our behavior, we might talk about patience. If we are against, we might talk about how video games can teach children to be violent. Good. So again, it is a matter of a perspective. Now the question is, where do you stand? Are you for video games, against video games, or somewhere in between? This takes us actually to our next task, which is the free writing. So John, a 16-year-old video gamer, had an argument with his parents. They believe that video games have negatively affected his social life and school results. So his parents decided to dispossess him from his game consoles. Write John a 12-line letter in which you help him overcome his misunderstanding with his parents. Use sound arguments and relevant examples. Here are some notes that might help you to carry out your letter. You are going to write an argumentative letter to John. So you may start with, "Dear John," that is the salutation. Then in the body of the letter, we expect you to divide it into 3 parts. The first part would be the introduction. What are you going to write in the introduction? So you are expected to state the reason for writing. For example, you can start with the following. "I am sorry to know that you are going through such tough moments with your parents. In fact, I am writing to you this letter to help you get along with them. And as such, you have stated the reason for your writing." The second part would be the main content. So you are going to provide John with tips to help him get along with his parents. Tell him that he should talk to his parents about the various benefits of video games. Remind John that he should allow himself a reasonable amount of time to play video games. Draw his attention to the negative effects of video games when used in an excessive way. Remember to refer to the tasks before while stating the advantages and the disadvantages of video games. And don't forget to suggest other leisure activities he can resort to instead of playing video games all the time. Now the last part would be the conclusion. You can end up writing as follows. "I hope my letter would be of great help to you. I am looking forward to hearing from you." And by the end of your letter, you can simply write yours and put your name. Now, remember that since this letter is basically written to provide John with some tips on how to fix his relationship with his parents, some useful expressions that you could use are the following. In order to give advice, you can use "you should," "you ought to," "it is recommended or advisable that," "if I were you, I would." You are also expected to warn him to the negative effects of video games. So you might use expressions like, "I would not if I were you," "be careful," or "I must warn you." Now our lesson has come to an end. I hope that you have benefited from it. Please keep safe, stay positive, and thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye, everybody.